I believe in empty. I believe in luck.
Do you remember when we were trying to decide what to call the program? That was many, many months of discussions before we came up with Common Good Atlanta. It was the two of us, and we were working with all the guys at Phillips State. And so they made a list of 100 potential names for the program, remember? They just went on, and one thing was we weren't sure whether to put the word prison in it or not. And the men at Phillips State said, yeah, put it in. Most of them wanted it in. And I think ultimately we decided that we would prefer to not have the word prison in there because we had worked with some children in downtown Atlanta, and we always wanted to do the downtown class.
Right.
And the downtown class didn't have to be restricted to people who had served a sentence or had, been directly impacted by the criminal legal system. And so I think that you and I were always the most excited about crossing borders of any kind. Not necessarily just prison walls and concertina wire, but figuring out who's interested in the humanities, and then how can we make sure that the humanities can reach those people. And so we finally decided on Common Good.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Crossing borders and breaking down walls. That's really a big theme, I think, that we've been exploring, trying to make real with each class, each essay, each piece of writing, each piece of reading.
Here's our finalists. We have Common Good Atlanta, Draw the Line. So our review committee was very impressed with Common Good, and one of the things they noticed was, of course, that the professors volunteer their time to do this, that the number of professors that have joined this effort is really impressive, and just the fact that there's real on-the-ground impact and that it's growing every day.
So I'm Tarek Bayina, as he said, I'm an alum, and I'm on the board now of Common Good Atlanta. So shout it out for that. I'm an alum because I was in prison. I know I don't look like it, kind of sharp tonight, but I spent a little time in prison. I spent 15 years in prison. Yeah, and the majority of that time was like dead time, They took college programs, the Pell Grant, they took all of that out of prison back in the 90s. So you have this culture in prison now that it was worse than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. At least you can get an education. Now you got to fight for it. And we got people like Sarah and Bill and all the professors associated with Common Good Atlanta coming into the prison on their own dime. A lot of them volunteer, right? Coming in and bringing that back to the people, because I don't know about you, but I believe in second chances.
What is really striking to me about Common Good Atlanta, as I've watched the faculty of Common Good Atlanta and as I've watched its purpose, is unlike some prison education, when you are done with Common Good Atlanta, you don't have necessarily permission to engage in a particular trade or practice that is going to earn you money. You don't have necessarily a degree or a diploma in front of you that will open doors that prior to this time would would not have been open. You don't have that. But what you do have as an incarcerated person who has taken a course in Common Good Atlanta, what you do have is a new mind. I think you have the beginnings of a new mind. So this whole notion of thinking and discussing, folks, this is one of the more radical things that can happen in any society, particularly when you don't have to be a member of the aristocracy, which it used to be. You didn't go to Oxford College, or the Sorbonne because you were from some farm out in the countryside. No, you went because you were a part of the elite of that society. We're talking about 1 or 2% of the whole population, maybe 0.5% of the whole population. So the humanities were the best kept secret. One of the other things that I think people realized is, particularly if you're with the aristocracy, you got to keep it a secret. You teach people to read, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Right? We know that. Read books? Oh, Lord. I mean, they're not, what will they do next? That's a very good word, by the way. What will they do next?
When you went into that classroom, there was no more prison. It was like a world away from it.
It was a form of liberation because I look forward for it every week, and it took me out of where I was at. It took me beyond the walls.
The avenues and the things that I had suppressed, that I had forgotten about, things about how I used to love to read, how I used to love to write, and I forgot about those things because just life, It allowed me to tap into those hidden areas in my life and then to enhance them. Most of all, I started to like me again. I forgot who I was.
So like from all the classes you took, is there like a favorite you had or one that was like you took the most away from?
We did take a philosophy class, and at first I hated it. It was like, I just was so tired of asking why, like why this, why, and I was like, come on, can we just like stop. But it's probably the class that I took the most out of. It kind of changed the way that I view academics and like see the world.
When Common Good came and they were like, hey, listen, this class is coming, would you like to be a part of it? I was like, are you kidding me right now? That honestly, at first it was hard for me to get my hopes up because there's always talk about things potentially happening and then it, falls through for whatever reason. But, the first day, I had butterflies, like the best first date ever, and I swear every week I dressed up, it was my fancy Friday, and I'd put my makeup on and do my hair every week, I was so excited about going to class. And, at the end of it, when I left to go to TC, I honestly, tearing up, choking up, so grateful to have the opportunity to remove yourself from prison for 3 hours every week and to, be reminded that, listen, you're really smart, you have something to offer, and, your writing is good. People outside think it's good. And one of the first things that I fell in love with about the Clemente course was Sarah Higinbotham. She was my first professor, and she's the first person I met that was involved. And she has such an excited light. You're like, this is gonna be fantastic, and it really was.
People that are involved in Common Good Atlanta, both those on the inside and those on the outside, have the force of human dignity. I think we also have the force of awe, of a transcendental experience of confronting a work of art or an idea or a philosophy that transcends your current frame of reference. That's a powerful emotion that draws people together and simultaneously draws them out of themselves.
Most people are brought in by Sarah's and Bill's charisma and passion and the way they talk about what they do.
Their leadership and their intellectual energy has created an environment in which all of us are excited to be together, excited to learn from them, excited to learn from the men scholars. So they cultivate what makes the program so powerful, and then the men scholars thrive in the space that they create.
Now it's just a place where you want to be around the other people who are doing this work.
I got my PhD in 2013, Stony Brook University, and I was awarded a postdoctoral fellowship at Georgia Tech. I started the same year that Sarah Higinbotham did, and so she was inviting various people in the program who expressed interest to come out to Phillips State Prison, which was the only location at that time. In fact, Common Good wasn't called Common Good then. It was just Sarah and Bill teaching in Phillips State Prison. And so, make a U-turn. Wow, that's up close and personal.
In many ways, Sarah, you took us back to a future and down that trail of unknowns, because there just was no more higher education in prison community back when you started. It was just a wasteland. So what was that like, just trying to blaze that trail or just start that process back up?
I think we were just doing what we loved doing, which was teaching and talking a lot about literature and writing and doing it with people who inspired us. I don't think we knew there was a path or that there was a course or a goal. One of the things that was so exciting about the work, particularly early on, was that we were being inspired by our students. We were having just a great time.
So I thought the whole thing was really a great art project where we would just be, kind of getting out of the way so something else could get into the space. The whole thing was very John Cage. We removed intention from our work so the work itself could declare its intention.
Man, good to see you again, man. On this side. On this side. On this side, exactly.
Then you started doing the book art, and the book art was so new to me and so exciting to the guys at Phillips State Prison.
Some of the books are on display downstairs, and I think one of the concepts behind the project was creating a project that would allow all the men in the class to produce something that would have an impact outside of the prison classroom. I'd been teaching creative nonfiction writing and creative writing, and we decided to create a set of handmade books. And they were just so beautiful and conveyed so much truth that year. In 2012, we then proceeded to do it till 2016. Over the course of those years, the men produced a one-of-a-kind, rare book library.
You remember what Noe did? He didn't want the 3-hole punch look.
When does he get out? When is he going to get out?
Thursday. He's leaving from the parking lot to drive to Chicago with his parents.
What's up, guys?
Woo! We love you, Noe.
I borrowed this I don't know, 6 years ago. I couldn't. How do you think you were gonna make it, man? There you go. Oh shit, Bill.
Want to get in there with him?
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, say something. Let me see if I have it doing.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
I am in Chicago. We just ate some deep dish pizza.
It's pie. Excuse me, but we're filming. Well, they put my phone on whatever. How do you make the emoji face?
Oh.
I still don't really know how to work one of these things.
So you don't have to look at the camera. I think you don't want to look at the camera.
That one? The ink was everything from Kool-Aid to crushed up pieces of colored pencil that I melted down and added floor wax to. The brushes I made out of toothbrushes that I had to heat up with homemade prison fire and bend into the proper shape and everything. Front and back cover are actually one large piece. It's one wall, it's one prison. When you put a visual to an emotion, at least for me, it was very therapeutic in a sense. Not so much that I was able to let go of the sense of dread or anything, but at least I understood it better, you know? Just the drippy, drab colors, like they're all representative of that same emotion. But the graffiti in itself, it's a sense of liberation. It's something that's not supposed to be there. It's something that's not really understood in traditional graffiti and stuff that you see on the walls and stuff. Not permission murals and stuff like that, but guys and girls that go out there like put their mark in the world like legally. It's a statement. You know, for me it was. Back in the day, it was me. I'm here. I exist. You know, there is a reason why this is here. You know, I wasn't a statistic at that point anymore. I wasn't just a number. I wasn't a faceless, tally mark on someone's page.
We as a people have predetermined ideas about what kinds of people are convicted of crimes. But you can't walk into one of our classrooms and sit and discuss Kafka or Dostoevsky or Solzhenitsyn or Shakespeare or Milton or Mary Shelley and not recognize the shared humanity among all of us. When I was in my late 20s, I had an uncle who was incarcerated 2 different times, both for drug-related violent charges. And growing up, he had been the fun uncle. He had been the one who taught me to water ski and drive. And so when he was released from prison the second time, he died shortly thereafter. And I felt like I never had the chance to make sure that he knew I had not given up on him. And about the time that he died, I heard a podcast on NPR. It was with Jack Hitt and Ira Glass. I'm sure many people have heard it. It was about enacting Hamlet inside a high security prison. And I thought, if I ever had the chance, that's what I would do on behalf of people like my Uncle Mike, to make sure that they knew that the community had not given up on them. So in 2008, when I was teaching at Georgia State University and working on my PhD, I asked Georgia State if they would allow me to also teach a class at a prison. And at the time, I thought a lot of people were doing that. It turns out there wasn't an existing program, but I wrote to about 14 different wardens. And at that time, Warden Tim Ward, who's now Georgia Department of Corrections Commissioner Tim Ward, answered my letter and invited me to come and talk to him at Phillips State Prison. And he agreed to allow me to teach a class just as I would teach a world literature class at Georgia State University. And so that's how the program started. It was really just going to be 1 semester. And that turned into 2 semesters, which turned into 2 years until I met Bill Taft.
I'm Bill Taft, co-director of Higinbotham, the other co-director, leading light, and visionary of Common Good Atlanta.
I didn't know Bill was a badass like that. Bill was a badass. Yeah. I mean, you see him in class and he's, you know, timid, shy guy, you know what I mean?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You got a quarter, don't wanna call, there's no other room. You're standing rehearse, all the way to the curse. Some metaphor, some with their fingers, that'll learn ya, don't let the eyes burn.
I didn't really know anything about mass incarceration, but I saw a presentation by Sarah, and Sarah's a great presenter. Once you see a presentation by Sarah, you're going to want to help out. She had a good experience and things worked out in her first class, so she decided to keep coming back. And I had a good experience, so I decided to keep coming back. And once we get on the highway, we're going the way no one else is going. Everyone else is going that way. So this is a metaphor for Common Good Atlanta. We go where the traffic isn't going.
All right, let's go. And action. Who's there?
Nate, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Long live the king.
Bernardo.
He.
We're going to really look. We're going to spend the next few minutes on these opening lines. So first, nobody looking. First line of Hamlet.
Who's there?
Who's there? And then does Francisco answer him? Does he say, "Oh, it's okay, it's me, it's Francisco"? Does he put him at ease? No, he says what? What does he say, Ginny?
Nay, answer me, stand and unfold yourself.
Yeah, nay, answer me.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, answer me. Who are you? No, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And then, nay, answer me. And then stand and unfold yourself. This is
so poetic.
Why is it poetic?
Because it just exposes yourself. Show me who you are.
Yeah, unfold yourself. And look how visual it is, right? Right? Who's there? Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself. Reveal yourself, but he doesn't say, give me your name. No. It's art. That's why you can't read a summary either. Right? Stand and unfold yourself.
I was engaged because they were engaged, right? I mean, you can't feel, enthused about a certain topic unless the facilitator is enthused and have passion for it. So it kind of like, it's contagious, for me. I'm like, wow, he's really, or she's really into this. So I wonder what's so good about it, opposed to, somebody it's a part of their profession. But yeah, Shakespeare. Yeah, that's Sarah, right?
What brought me to this course, because I'm numb. I'm just, ain't no drugs, alcohol, any of that, sex, any of the vices can call. Mm-hmm. And so I could only vent it out literally. You know what I'm saying? Then seeing people incarcerated unjustly and the whole system itself. Sometimes I wish I didn't know what I know. That I know now. It's different when you know something, but when you know something. I am invisible. I'm like, my life parallels this. I'm like, I live it. I know people that live it. It's a way of understanding how to walk on eggshells of society. I was ignorant. I can accept that because I know what ignorance is now. I know it ain't mean stupid or dumb. It just means you don't talk. I didn't know any. So I can accept that. Reading all of these different pieces have showed me that a lot of people are ignorant and don't want to face their ignorance.
I really think that the theater aspect of the program is extremely valuable because it really helps to reconnect with the human components of who they are and the human components of expression, which are oftentimes suppressed in the incarceration process. I mean, you can't use your voice. It's limited body movement. It's limited movement of space. And so these very crucial elements to human expression are kind of cut off. Even if they come to my class and they just do jumping jacks and roll on the wall and roll on the floor and use their voice and raise it and lower it and change planes, at least at that point, they're reconnecting with human expression, with human movement. And I think that's a normalizing process for them. I think it's a very helpful one too.
I was in the first literature class with Sarah Higinbotham, and the class for me was very eye-opening. Coming from a background where I didn't read much literature of Shakespeare, Paradise Lost, John Milton, reading those books really expanded my horizon. My favorite part of the literature class was being able to memorize and recite the literature back to the class.
Woman, who dare move my bed? No builder had the skill for that, unless a god came down to turn the trick. No mortal in his best days could budge it with a crowbar. There is our pact, our pledge, built into that bed. My handiwork and no one else's.
You can find yourself in any hero. It doesn't matter what that I guess skin color of that hero is. And when you find yourself in that hero, that's when you find that relatability, and that's when you can like apply those lessons to your life, like the Odyssey or anything like that, you know? So trying to find their way home, returning home, you're in prison, you're reading the Odyssey, like how am I gonna get home? And you're just like, okay, well, I can get home if I do this, 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 and this, and this.
Common Good put something on me. It's just, I can't even explain it. I can't even explain it, but it had a major effect on my life. It had a major effect on my life because it was something, I put so much focus into it. Another reason because I wanted to come home for my little sister and show her the right example because I had put such a bad example on her from me going to prison and going to jail. So I wanted to come home and put a good example for her, you know, and show her that you do need to do good. You can do good. So I did that. And I wanted to make my parents proud also. So, and they helped me do that. They helped me do that. They did. And I thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is called Forgotten Portraits. Suddenly nobody knows where you are. You're just a memory. An echo. An idea thin as smoke. Having become that final exhale that hangs in the air after the passing. Compose and hold it. We are all the dead. I am not apart from you for long, except for breath, except for everything.
This is when I'm like, hey, Quan, hey, are you still reading? He's at the transition center. He did 20.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, no, but I got it up here. I'm like, what do you mean? And
See, when I recite stuff, man, I gotta, I remember Dr. Voss, he said it's a rhythm. It's a rhythm.
It is a rhythm.
Yeah, it's a rhythm, man. I gotta get a rhythm back. Of man first disobedient, and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all woes, with the loss of Eden. To one greater man restores and returns the blissful seed. Sing heavenly news that on the secret top of Or Sinai, this inspired that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed. In the beginning, how the heavens and earth rose out of chaos. Or is Zion Hill the lightly moon? Or so lower books that flow fast by the oracle of God. I tense invoke that aid to my adventurous song, that with no meter flight intend to soar above the Aeon's mouth. While it pursue things unattempeted,
I
yet
can't quote this.
in prose divine.
Nor did I assign it.
And cheaply thou, O spirit, the dust preferred before all temple, the upright heart and peer. And said eternal prophets and justify the ways of God's command.
Okay, that was
I had
beautiful.
no idea he had memorized it.
The program has helped me through adapting with society, being locked up as a teenager. Everything I know is just prison, and the program actually helps me connect with people socially. I'm still working on it. It's a lot of work, but it does help me a lot, especially with Sarah. Sarah helped me a great deal.
There's a big conversation going on in Georgia now about criminal justice reform with a lot of specifics to it. And you're kind of a poster child.
Oh man!
No, you are of someone who did what you could to get trained in behind bars, both taking college courses and taking shop, and then one of the people who was able to find employment. This is terrifically hard to do. I go to a tire shop in my neighborhood, and I've gone there for years, really. And I was there with one of my tire issues, and I came in late, and they said, we're closing up, but they actually had a young man on their staff who they said, well, he'll stay late. We started talking before he ever worked on the tire. And then afterward, our conversation outside, after everything was done, I had my keys, and my car was ready to go, and he was outside waiting for a ride. And we wound up having a very long conversation.
At first, I thought, I say, what do you want? I'm very on the defense of people, and especially my background, being incarcerated and stuff. And I had the shaved head back then with tattoos everywhere. And she actually spent her time to actually talk to me. And I said, this is exactly my situation, which is I'm in a transition center now. I've been locked up since I was 16 years old. And she was just amazed. I thought she was going to run away, but she was actually amazed and asked more questions, of course.
So in the course of that, he made some reference to John Milton's Paradise Lost.
We're really talking about metaphors.
That's exactly right.
How metaphors start, because how politics is really a lot about metaphors, where you can use one word and just change the mindset of a whole bunch of people. So we start talking about that, and then we talking about Paradise Lost.
And I went, Paradise Lost? Where'd you read Paradise Lost? And he said, it was a college class I took. I said, well, wait, you've been behind bars. What do you mean you took a college class? And then he says, there's a professor who came who was working on her advanced degree. And as part of that, she was able to come to the facility where I was, and I had a chance to do a college class with her. And I said, wait a minute. What's her name? And I said, I know her. He said, you don't know her. I said, I know her. We're on I met her at Forever Families, who works with supporting kids whose parents are incarcerated to be connected with their parents and also to have a lot of services and support in that tough time. And that's how I met. And the first time I met her, she had told me that she had worked behind bars with prisoners, and along with another colleague. And that struck me, thought it was great. And here is a young man who's telling me she was his professor. I said, I can't wait to call her. He said, you know her? I said, I have her cell phone. And just then your bus picked you up.
Yep.
Your bus picked. I said, well, we're going to stay in touch, and I'm going to call her. And I hardly got out of the parking lot before I called Sarah, and she said, you found VU? Because they had been, with the way you get moved around the prison system, and mail doesn't always follow the prisoner, and so their correspondence had lapsed, and neither one of them knew why. They just knew that they stopped getting letters, and so it was just miraculous that I would spend long enough with you to learn your story, and then to find that we had this connection with this wonderful woman. And that we could all get reconnected.
I also think there is a deep and abiding pleasure for people who are teaching in a structured university setting to leave those boundaries and to recognize that for most of the history of higher ed in the United States, it's been too many gatekeepers, too narrowly restricted to certain kinds of people. And so I think that once people know there is a structure in place in which you can cross those boundaries and reach people that we haven't historically been able to reach, then there is tremendous enthusiasm.
Teaching at Phillips really showed me that this can be transformative, right? Like that's why we get into this discipline, right? Like why we get into teaching, because we think it really can have impacts on people. And teaching at a prison reminded me that that's true, right? That's true for my students outside of the prison, that they do get a lot out of what we're teaching, and maybe I just need to show them how they can get a lot out of it and how they can take ownership and responsibility for what they're writing, and that really will help them understand the world around them. I think that's what the humanities, the liberal arts do, is help people understand themselves and the world around them.
I'll say something candid, and then we can talk about how much I wanted this out. But let me put it this way. When I've taught humanities classes at the college level, say at four-year universities, and when I say that, I mostly mean English classes. That can be literature classes, or that can be introductory writing classes. For the students in those classes, it's all sort of part of the plan. This is one required class that they have to do to get a degree. I think that's fine. I think it's great for people to get a college degree. I think the kinds of faculties of assessment and critical thinking that you learn in getting an undergraduate education are vital. I think they're very important. But there is a way in which undergraduate education for a lot of people can be a kind of finishing school a little bit. And in that way, I don't always know how much my students listen to me or how much they take away. In certain ways, for me, if I believe that studying the liberal arts, that studying the humanities actually has a purpose and has an effect, I feel a certain responsibility then to go teach it in contexts where it might not necessarily be available, where it's not assumed as something that is there, or it's not assumed as something that people necessarily have access to.
What's different for me is going into a classroom where I can't call on my own experience almost at all to try to identify with them, and that is I don't have any answers to that. You fail and you say you're sorry, and you sometimes students are frustrated with you, and my only answer for that, my best answer for that right now is just to keep showing up and keep learning and being respectful of the differences in our experiences.
I think especially as two white people in a space that is heavily comprised of people of color, it's been incredibly important to make sure that you and I aren't the ones that are making the decisions. that it's the students inside the classroom who are always giving us feedback.
So they were really, really good about following up and hearing us. And that right there is a jewel in prison. You're not to talk. Your word, your who you are is suppressed. You know, Common Good Atlanta came in and they said, "Hey, this is our vault. This is your safe place," and they provided that for us.
Reading those comment cards at the end of every class where they write, "This is what went well today. This is what I didn't understand." It's in contemplating them and acting on them. Or bringing our alumni, once they're out, into advisory board positions and always being in conversation with them. I think if we've done things well, it's because it's been rooted in listening to them.
Sarah's able to organize like a large-scale operation, right, while still sort of being able to pay attention to the small-scale sort of emotional details, like how is this student doing, what issues are they having, you know, and just to be able to balance both of those things, I would imagine just takes a big toll. It's not easy working in prison, especially for as many years as she's been doing it.
For all the euphoria that faculty like me experience inside the prison, it is also really heavy work. Some of that comes from the institutionalization that happens in those places, the security risks, the logistical challenges of getting in and out of a highly secure space with books, with papers. Some of it comes from the fact that we're used to communicating with our students with email or with seeing them on campus and being able to clarify assignments or questions or encourage them if they're struggling with a concept. We can't do that in the prison space because we can't have any contact with them outside just that short period of time in which we are teaching.
I think we as students, if I can speak, you know, for the class as a whole, we felt the importance of getting to class, being there on time, where you had the officers, they didn't. It was not of anything of importance to them. The other issues I know were, you know, just finding that time. The assignments with Common Good Atlanta, like I said, it really allowed you to dig deep within yourself. So sometimes you just needed that quietness. And the only time you can really get that quietness is when lights were off and everybody started, you know, drifting away to sleep, you know? Yeah. And normally that was like 1 o'clock in the morning, you know? And other than that, it's just like, you know, like, oh my gosh. So a lot of times I didn't feel that I was giving my best work because I was so distracted by the environment.
The things that we take for granted at Emory and UGA, which is we have an institution that's working with us on our behalf. We don't have that same luxury inside the prison spaces.
I think at some point in our lives, all of my mom's children have been research assistants or teaching assistants or have in some capacity played an administrative role in Common Good Atlanta and what it was in the very beginning. It's all been really important to us to be there for her as much as possible. She really cares about dignity for everybody. And, you know, that's not easy. I think it's really easy to care about the dignity of people that we see every day that we like. And it's not so easy to say, well, I also, care about the dignity of the least of these and of people who our society says you are worthless. If you go to prison, then it isn't just however many years that you serve that your dignity is removed. It's, at the time that you're in trial. When we set bail at a price that's absurdly high that nobody who is really truly affected by the incarceration system can afford to pay. And then, we have public defenders who do their best for the most part, but are also incredibly overworked, and prosecutors who level incredible amounts of charges against an offender that they know really cannot afford a good lawyer, and so they have no choice but to take a plea deal regardless of their actual guilt. So then you have these people in prison for, however many years. And then you get out.
Job application, background checks. It's, even though, I might apply a job, they're gonna deny me because of my background.
Looking at applying to homes and taking my story, being honest, letting them know, listen, I got great references, I've been doing this, I know I just got home and everything, I got a job that's verifiable, and just giving a synopsis of my story, not in depth, but just saying I've been to prison and stuff. And they will not open their hearts to give someone that has a criminal background a chance. And that's what it is just a chance.
I think part of the class actually got me to do things outside the norm. And basically, John Milton and any other authors we read, they put in so much emphasis and an idea into something to make it bigger than it actually is. So on the day that I was supposed to get out was on a Friday. However, they let me out on Thursday. My mom doesn't know that I was supposed to get out on Friday. So my mom, the last thing she remembered me when I got locked up was delivering a pizza for Pizza Hut. So I came up with the idea, I'm gonna deliver my mom a pizza on Thursday.
There's something about the first time you get to see a formerly incarcerated student on the outside wearing regular clothes and eating regular food and being able to see what that looks like, that they have emerged whole and generous and loving. And then to watch them become parents and go back into the community and serve the community with their own strengths.
So here at IMAN, Inner City Muslim Action Network, I'm a community organizer. I work in developing a criminal justice reform campaign. So we support what is right now the Second Chances for Georgia campaign that's really being headed up by Georgia Justice Project. We have support for that, which is centered around changing expungement law in Georgia. So allowing people with convictions to be able to get their record either restricted or expunged, and so that they're not discriminated against once they go and apply for employment or housing. I'm also developing a campaign around changing some of the laws here in Georgia about felony voter disenfranchisement. Even if you could come up with a valid argument of not allowing felons to vote while they're in prison, I think this country was built on one fundamental principle of no taxation without representation. That's where it all started. No taxation without representation. So when I get out on parole, as it is right now, as long as I'm on parole or probation or some sort of state supervision or community supervision, I can't vote, but I have to work. As a matter of fact, if I don't work, I'm going to be punished. I'm subject to go back to prison. So you're making me work, and in that work, I'm paying taxes, but I'm paying taxes without the benefit of having representation. So you stole my voice. Since that is fundamentally un-American. What is the reason for that? And so these are some of the things that we're taking up here.
Those sorts of things have been extremely humbling, but also really fun. And so going to the High Museum with Preston Townsend, not long after he got out, and when he was engaging with all that artwork live, instead of the books that we had been bringing in, or watching Tariq Baina speak to the governor and the first lady at a podium in the Capitol, or watching Robert Roebuck handing out bread in the park and watching people receive that, or signing up for a road race with Janine. Lillian Smith said something that I so admire. She said, in order to live a good life, a meaningful life, in order to die a good death, you have to believe in something not yet proved and underwrite it with your life. I've learned that from the men and women inside the prison, who I watch them with these deep wells of inherent strengths. They cultivate them with remarkable self-discipline to read really difficult texts and to invest themselves in it, and then to determine from that text, what are my core convictions? And what are my beliefs about then what that means for me to live in community with other people? And then underwrite those beliefs with their own lives. The work is heavy, but so deeply gratifying for those reasons.
I believe in second chance. I believe that everybody deserves to come back from their mistakes in life, right? Be able to come out and have an opportunity for a decent life.
I was born by the river in a little tent, just like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. I believe in empty. I believe in luck. I believe in addiction. I believe in hope. I believe in hope. I
believe I'm lost, I believe I'm in trouble. I believe I can find my way. I believe in kindness, soul, bright lights and Indian gold. Beauty, I can find my way. I believe I can find my way. I believe sorrow. I believe there is no shame. And asking for help when you need help. I believe someone will help me. I believe someone will help me. I believe someone will help me.